Hi all, this is a video looking at solid systems you might play with the white pieces and you don't really want to play 1e4. So the advantage of that is keeping the game usually on less theoretical territory. The opponent might have really researched a lot of systems for 1e4. So the first aspect of your solidity here is to try and get the knowledge balance more in your favour. You want to play your own pet systems and not worry about the opponent's pet systems. So you want to get them into your territory, not theirs. The art of war principles apply. So basically you want to choose the battlefields. So I have a selection of more than 10 systems here which are pretty solid in nature. The first to head the list is the dreaded London system. So with the white pieces you might want to torture opponents with the dreaded London system, and I hate playing against the London system. d4 as an example. Knight f3 is the most common, but bishop f4 we've mentioned as Magnus Carlsen's secret move order. Check out that video if you haven't. But the general idea, say black commits a pawn on d5, you can get a very, very comfortable position quite often playing like this, where they try and put some pressure on the centre, but you play this, and it's a common strategic mistake for black to release the central tension with c4 later. So for example, let's say black really didn't play this very well, they didn't know what they were doing, c4, you can get a really marvellous attacking position quite often by entrenching a knight on e5, and black's already in difficulties. If they play b5 you can pounce him with knight c6. This is a really, really comfortable position to play, and you might even be able to get all sorts of attacking options later, like bishop g3, f4. So that's an ideal London system where black really doesn't know what they're doing and even plays c4 later. So if we look at this again, you can also consider the Magnus Carlsen secret move order, bishop f3. Check out that video which explains that sometimes this diagonal to keep it open, not having a knight on f3, is useful for maybe bishop e2 and g4 later. So the London system with white is my personal dread, and makes it to the top system of choice with the white pieces on this video. There's a playlist, check out for the playlist links I'll put for each of the sections so you can look at example games in more detail. So we're just looking at the high level view here. The second, okay, so now let's look at the second torture system with the white pieces. So the opponents might have spent ages preparing against you, and what do? You play knight f3 with a view of the king's Indian attack. So especially if you play the king's Indian defense, you might want to reuse some of your attacking knowledge. And say black naively kind of commits to light square strategy. So pawns on light squares. Say they play like this. Yes, this is an example. And say they don't want to play e5 necessarily. And you can eventually play for e4. This is an ideal kind of scenario to look out for, where sometimes you can even commit to playing e5. That pawn might not be too weak sometimes, and sometimes you can get a good grip on e5, which can be used as a basis for a kind of attack later. If you look at some of the Fischer games, which by transposition reached these positions, especially when Fischer was playing against the French defence, there's a ready-made recipe attack here system based on the dark squares, which essentially involves, for example, playing h4. I'll show you the white plan. Black might tokenly play on the queen side, but you play for this kind of form pawn, knight g4, and it's a very nice dark square strategy. Even if it doesn't mate the opponent's king, it might leave a dangerous pawn for endgames sometimes as well. A very, very dangerous grip on e5, overprotecting e5, and getting an interesting system of attack from the king's Indian. So king's Indian players would kind of know this with the black pieces as well. Another approach in the style of the king's Indian, though, let's say let's look at it again. Sometimes you play like this, and say not e4. You can play sometimes if they play d4. You can play it like the style of a king's Indian defense, just in reverse, king's Indian attack. So moves like knight e1 to play f4 and f5 later. So h3, and you can get a nice kind of king's Indian style attack. So it's using knowledge of the king's Indian basically in reverse for attacking schemes. So very, very interesting idea there. But as I say, the preferred move order for the likes of Bobby Fischer, when he played this kind of King's Indian attack, he did actually play one e4 first. So that's outside of the scope of this video, though. You can play the system just independently with knight f3. You don't have to play one e4 first. You do allow some interesting black options to get stable positions, though. But yeah, the King's Indian attack is a legitimate system of choice with the white pieces. So knight f3, playing it like the King's Indian, just in reverse. So quite often you can just reverse the solid openings we saw in the other videos, solid openings with black against one e4. You can put those systems in reverse and they're pretty solid. Our third choice to look at for solid systems with white is the Catalan opening. So the Catalan often makes a special statement not to block in the bishop too quickly, but you can arrive at the Catalan not with knight f3, d5. You can look at this order and it looks remarkably like the King's Indian attack, but here's the big difference: d4. You don't commit to d3 and then trying to play for e4. You commit to try and put pressure on the dark squares. So this position, and you even potentially, to try and liberate this bishop, you offer a pawn sometimes, a positional pawn sacrifice. You can either try and recapture it immediately or positionally just try and get it back later and with some other perks. So there's some interesting exponents. Mikhail Umansky was one of the correspondence world chess champions. He had several wins with the Catalan opening. His preferred move order was often like this. For example, here's an interesting start variation: c4, g6, g3, bishop g7. He's not blocking in the bishop with knight f3 in this example. So here he keeps quite a few options open, and it looks like it's basically transposed to a variation of the King's Indian fianchetto system. But this is very, very solid approach to the King's Indian when you fianchetto this bishop. So this kind of thing is solid for white. So the Catalan can often transpose to other mainstream openings. There's a gambit that Leela has ended up playing against Stockfish. If we look at this line: d4, knight f6, c4, e6, g3, d5. So Stockfish was quite ready on occasion to win c4 and try and cling on to it. So for example, this variation with black playing d takes c4, you play queen c2, Stockfish playing b5, trying to undermine here. And this position, knight fd2, is Leela's novelty in this whole Catalan, which I think Grandmasters should really explore. Stockfish has lost quite a few games with this central pawn being gobbled here, but giving black major indigestion issues after winning this central pawn. So that's something to look out for. A very positional, interesting gambit here. You can see a lot of queenside pressure. This Catalan bishop coming into its own. Black's piece is cramped. This bishop not happy. The dark squares being really good for white. There's a nice grip on dark squares. There's a lot of positional trump cards going on for white here, as well as the pressure on the d file. So this is a really, really solid, dynamic start position to get, just to simulate Leela beating powerful Stockfish engines. So there's that as well. But if you don't like basing your repertoire on a neural network, then correspondence world champion Mikhail Umansky, the likes of Vladimir Kramnik, they're often playing the Catalan. So very, very popular opening choice. Another very, very solid system is the Stonewall attack. So the Stonewall defense against d4 can be used with white. So d4, I first saw this in the book Play Better Chess by Leonard Barden. So not knight f3 blocking in the f pawn, but you commit to something like this, to f4. So you have this bishop blocked in, and you might think, well, this is terrible, but this is a downside which you kind of accept, and you get this kind of Stonewall formation here, where you've weakened light squares, you've got a bad bishop, but there's other great perks going for it, especially if you can control the e4 square. Quite often black does that strategic terrible move c4 under certain levels, and you get a really, really comfortable position where you can routinely just plonk a knight on e5 and then do this routine rook f3 to h3, and it's really, really dangerous. So that would be an ideal Stonewall attack formation. You've got all sorts of attacking options like g4, g5, queen coming later to h5. So it can be super dangerous, like the Stonewall is. The Dutch Stonewall potentially is very, very dangerous. Quite often there's queen shifting, to attack over there. So the Stonewall attack, Stonewall opening with white, is a really interesting system to experiment with in some games to get experience of. So, okay. Our fifth choice, if you don't want to have all the tons of theory associated with 1e4, is just the English opening. So principally, you just want to influence the d5 square with the English opening. It was recommended to me once personally as a junior by Andrew Webster, who later became a very strong international master. If black plays e5, g3, knight f6, you keep this diagonal open. You don't play knight f3 just yet. Keep it open for a bit. If black tries to blunt the bishop with c6, you can even play d4 though, and you get a nice position with a bite on d5. That d5 is under pressure here. So cd. Andrew Webster had a really nice win against Joel Lautier in the 12th Lloyd's Bet Masters 1988. He's won numerous games with the English opening, so it helped him, without knowing too much theory, to sort of get really good positions from the opening, really solid positional, which suited his style. So if you're a really solid positional player, the English opening is really something you want to explore. If you're more into fundamental pawn structures and plans, and you don't want so many tactics, it's a great weapon of choice, the English opening, c4. It's a very, very solid opening. Very, very popular at Super Grandmaster levels, a favourite of Vladimir Kramnik. So anything Kramnik plays is generally solid, because Kramnik is responsible for the Berlin Wall, and he has a tendency for very positional, solid openings with both the white and black pieces. So he's someone to sort of base a solid opening repertoire from. But, okay, now we go into very, very interesting territory here for these other choices that I would like to mention. These had real champions through periods of time. The first one is Trompowsky Opening, but it was championed by British Grandmaster Julian Hodgson, who used it to win the British Championship quite a few times. So d4, knight f6. And the move is bishop g5, so you can really kind of study this system and have the informational advantage on the opponent, which kind of creates that solidity if you really know your stuff and the variations. As an example game sequence against Michael Adams, he had a very nice win. So knight e4, the bishop doesn't move back, just h4, and this became known as the raptor variation, for example, this particular variation, where black seems to be doing well to get the dark square bishop, but there's a certain amount of dynamic play now on this h file, and Julian Hodgson had a fantastic win against Adams from this position, proving that there are certain dynamics going on here which are very, very interesting to consider. So this raptor variation, the awkward looking rook a2, I know, but it does parry b2. It does do the job functionally of holding that b2. But white also establishes quite a nice centre and even gave up voluntarily the other bishop. So it's a bit outrageous territory, but there's other stuff going on here. I'll check out the games of Julian Hodgson as the major exponent of the Trompowsky Opening. So that's d4, knight to f6, bishop g5. Very, very interesting system. A lot of interesting territory to explore there to get you that informational advantage on a lot of opponents that just won't have a clue about this. Okay, another champion who had great success and had the opening kind of named after him as well is Benko's opening, so g3. So Pal Benko gave Fischer the opportunity to actually qualify for the World Chess Championship. He gave up one of his candidates' places, but he also beat Fischer with his own opening and other notable players with g3. He played it in a certain way. So g3, he kept the bishop view open for a bit here by playing e4, d4. This is his game against Fischer, started like this, and knight e2. And this is a pretty solid weapon of choice. If you look at this position, it's pretty nice for white. It's got some perks to it. And some control over the position here, trying to control b5. It's a pretty solid position to start off with, and Pal Benko chose this quite often, and had really interesting wins with it. So a bit of a surprise weapon with the white pieces to play g3 in a hypermodern fashion. Very, very interesting. As we saw in the solid choices to 1 e4, we mentioned the g3, the modern is called to 1 e4 g6. But here, playing it in reverse, basically the modern, with this solid system in mind, yeah, it's not too bad to start the game with. Okay. So our 8th weapon of choice is the Reti Opening. So another champion, Richard Reti, starting with knight f3 in the hypermodern tradition. So this is distinctive in that you can often transpose into an English opening though. But here, b4 was chosen against Capablanca. Really, really aggressive on the queen side, accelerating the aggression. And he managed to beat Capablanca eventually in 31 moves. Sensational win against Capablanca, fianchettoing both bishops. So a real hypermodern emphasis on controlling the centre from afar, and this makes for a really solid opening, in fact, by playing it in this hypermodern way. So this was the start position against Capablanca, which is very, very solid. It's difficult to beat, you could argue. So very, very interesting. The Reti Opening. Check out games of Richard Reti historically. It's very important sometimes to check out the history and culture of chess. So Richard Reti using the Reti Opening, transposing quite often. It is a chameleon opening. It can transpose quite often into variations of the English opening though. So the Reti Opening, knight f3. Okay. Now our 9th interesting choice is championed quite often by Larsen, b3. Now he got a bad rap for this opening because people remember his quick loss against Boris Spassky. But b3 doesn't have to be played on the first move. It can be played as part of the English opening. You can sneak in b3. So it can make for quite a solid position. For example, here against Yasser Sohan in 1983, we had this double fianchetto again, super kind of hypermodern, both bishops being fianchetto to control a lot of central squares from afar, and it does make for a solid opening start, more positional in nature, less theory to know, basically fianchetto both bishops and control d5 here. It's a nice start position. White went on to win against Yasser Sohan in 53 moves in that particular Bent Larsen game, but he's won many games with b3, just starting from the first move as well. I really like this. I've had great results with the Tango in reverse. Quite often players of black play this, and then you get a kind of Tango system in reverse where your knight can tango over here, and you're looking forward to great light square play. And I found this very, very solid and dangerous, beating all sorts of players. They usually protect e5, but you can get this bishop out quite aggressively, and you get a really comfortable position. Reverse tango, which I really like with the black pieces, just being played in reverse, can be really solid and dangerous and aggressive. So yeah, it's interesting to consider your defensive systems with white against e4, to master those, get to know a lot of the ideas and plans for the pawn structures, and just apply them in reverse. So you can also even do a reverse French defense if you really want to annoy opponents from a theoretical angle. Now they might want to do a reverse exchange variation against you, but you can spice things up here with c4. So we have a position which Magnus Carlsen has had against MVL, this weird start position with pawn on e3, and he managed to win it later. So you can avoid the exchange variation if you really want to avoid the boredom of this d4 ed. This symmetrical pawn structure is maybe too boring. Even if you do want to play solidly, you don't want to go that far in particular. So e3 is a surprise weapon. It was in vogue more in Nimzovichian times. Nimzovich played e3 quite a bit. So e3 is a solid a start move to consider if you really don't want to play e4. Also, you might want to sneak in a transposition somehow to the London system. You play c3. You can either get to the London system or maybe something quite different. But often, usually you want to put your bishop outside of the pawn chain. You don't want to lock it in unless you want to play the Cole system, which is also pretty solid. But c3 to start off with can transpose into various other solid systems. Okay, I'd like to end this video on some philosophical points and nutshells. Basically, what we looked at in this video were systems which avoid the massive opening theory which has arisen from 1e4. And a lot of players trying to learn chess or improve the chess, they're often maybe overly distracted by learning tons and tons of opening theory at the expense of, say, being good at calculating, forcing move variations, being good at positional play, being good at endgames. All these other skills are like potential weak links in that chain, that virtual chain. And you want to try and tackle your weakest links and improve those, and not be too terrified about not knowing this, insecurity you might have about not knowing tons of opening theory, especially when with the white pieces, you do have the advantage sometimes of not having to play e4. As mentioned, you can play the dreaded London system, you can play the Reti, you can play the Larsen's opening, the Stonewall in reverse, you can play the Caro or the French defence in reverse, or the Benko's opening, which is basically the modern defence in reverse. You can use basically a lot of systems in reverse you might have learnt from playing against 1e4. You can throw that at the opponent in reverse if you really want, or you can play in other ways as mentioned. So often it is the case that in chess, the chess book industry has been driven by this need to learn tons and tons of opening theory, when really for most players you do just want solid positions from the opening, which you're not blasted too quickly, you're not embarrassed too quickly, you're not going to lose too easily or quickly. So I'm hoping that this video might help some of you out there, and let me know how you go with these systems, and try and improve your chess generally. The advantage you get from not spending too much time researching openings, you can try and pour into other weak links in your game understanding, and chess is a vast game to try and understand. And a very important plug for me is my own correspondence style site, which I started over 15 years ago, chessworld.net. If you want to play me there and practice any of these openings, bit.ly/chessworld. I'll be able to invite you for a game later if you use that reference code. So I'm playing many of you already there at Chessworld. It's correspondence style chess is a great way of practicing openings and systems generally as well. So I hope you have fun there. Okay, thanks very much.